She said the primary wish of any cancer patient, of anyone going through cancer, is a wish for more time. Samina Farid is with me today, and her story is one of absolute amazement. Samina is a businesswoman, a software developer for oil and gas, and many times found herself as the only woman in the room. But her real story has to do with her journey through breast cancer. And what she says is the wish of every cancer patient is more time. She talks about so many things as she went through her own experience. But the way she found the rose was at our Everything's Coming Up Roses luncheon, when she found herself at a table surrounded by other women who had experienced exactly what she was going through. For the first time, she really felt support. Samina also talks about the importance of research and why investing in innovation can make a difference for the next survivor. She says the value of telling your story and recognizing how caregivers can change lives is incredibly important. So join us today as we learn more about this amazing woman who is truly, truly a trailblazer. When you subscribe to our show, you help us grow. Someone you know may need to hear this story, so please share with your family and friends and consider supporting our mission at therose.org. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Samina, thank you so much for being with us here today. It's just a joy to have you.
Well, it's a joy to meet you too, Dorothy. I've been following The Rose for a while now.
I know impressive. You have, and I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, cool.
But one of the things that I'm so curious about, because you started in oil and gas, right? You were in the energy world.
I was.
As a young woman. Mm-hmm. How was that?
I think it was just such an exciting period of my time. I mean, when you're a young woman and you get into an area and you just want to excel like a lot of young women do, I was in this area. It was intimidating, no question about it. There were a lot of men around, and I felt a need to be as, not just as good, but better, like a lot of women, and I needed to be. It was interesting. You know, people say it's hard sometimes, but in some respects they always recognize you were the only woman in the room half the time. So if they didn't recognize anybody else, they remembered you.
Well, I've never heard it put that way. That is a good way to think about it. But you truly were, the only woman in the room.
It was, and it was difficult. In those days in particular, where no bars on what people said in the room or, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think, for me, my humor, I could kind of laugh at it and take it a little bit in stride. I was also fortunate. I have 3 terrific brothers, including one brother who's been a mentor for years. And if I had a difficulty, I could go back to my family and they could say, oh, don't let that get to you, kind of thing. Oh. So that was very, I think support is, support is incredibly important.
But see, the difference in you and me is I've been in a primarily female environment for 40 years. So I don't even remember when I used to work around men.
Oh,
it's so different than this world. And healthcare is just a little bit different.
It was funny because, after I sold my company and retired, I got even more involved. I was involved previously, but, various groups, and it was women's groups. Now, all of a sudden, it's like all these incredible women who were going through their paths. And how the heck did I not know them then? We were just so busy, consumed with our careers that I just knew a bunch of guys. And now, actually, I know a lot of great women.
I know. It has changed. And I think women are a lot more supportive now. But what you're doing with encouraging women is also important. I think, too often I used to hear, and I don't as much anymore, women just don't support each other. Yeah. But that has changed. It's different.
I've had both experiences. I had some difficulty with women who, as I was promoted, were made comments in regards. So I've seen that side of it as well. But I think we've started. One of the great things about women is we do share emotions, and when we don't feel like we have to be like men or thing, we can start sharing it. We find the commonalities and recognizing that. I see that in young women. I see that in women, my peers, and older women too. You start going, oh, well, you went through that same thing, and sharing experiences then becomes so much easier, I think.
So now tell me about your company.
Oh, the company, my baby?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
my baby. Okay. So I started, so I was in the energy industry and saw a terrific need for, in those days, it sounds so crazy, but, we didn't have internet or anything, right? So these guys in the field would send in, spreadsheets were sent, they were, emailed over, sent over, and then they were typed in, and that's how you figured out what was going on in your most important asset, which is oil and gas, which, remote areas, you're getting all this stuff and you're getting it late. And I just couldn't tolerate the fact, and having had a computer background, I started off as a computer programmer, I always think about how technology can help. And I just couldn't, I was like, this is crazy. We're finding about wells that are shut in weeks, months, we're losing money, nuts, when we could have rectified the situation. And so I had this vision, and people thought, was pretty outrageous thing because there were some very large companies pursuing the same, solutions. But I became obsessed with it. And so basically we built out a company that was enterprise-wide, tying in engineers and accounting and the field personnel in the field to really improve the efficiencies with multiple products. And my company was Merrick Systems. I'm very proud of it. It's still around 10 years after I've sold it.
Oh, my goodness.
Was sold once and then became part of one company, and now it's part of, it's now IFS Merrick if you look it up on the tube. So I'm quite proud, that you wanted to survive, right? Beyond you.
Yes,
Yeah, so.
yes. That is a very important thing.
Yes.
So you brought all this information together, this communication in an internet form,
Well, we changed the technology as the technology improved, right? So, but initially it was we wrote our own software. My wonderful nephew, who I founded with aunt-nephew team, which is also pretty crazy, right? And then another nephew joined. So we were kind of funky. We were a little crazy out there. We were known to be very innovative, but also, very family-oriented company because we were a family, and then we brought in all these people and we recognized the importance of it. But yeah, so we built everything from scratch. Kamal did a lot of that. We built out this technology that basically brought the data in fast, near real time, transmitting files. It started off with files, and of course later on went to mobility. We were early on to introduce mobility in the field and stuff like that. So I like to think that we had a big the change would have happened anyway, but we were part of that change early on in helping make it happen.
That is so fascinating.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like, whoa, I've never known anyone that was right there on the ground to start
Thank you.
something like
and
that.
It's pretty cool because you run into people all the time going, oh, I used your software. I use it now. I use it daily every day. It was like, are you kidding? It really is so, it's so satisfying. Satisfying is not a strong enough word for it.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you created something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know you're very, very proud of that, but you've had many different experiences. Was that your favorite job?
It was, because I like running stuff. But
You like being the boss.
I do. I do. But I was also very fortunate. So I came, I started in the industry pretty early on, and I actually rose to a very high level. It was Houston Natural Gas, which became Enron. I was running IT, and then nobody heard of it in that day. I was moved over to run, I was director of pipelines, and that's crazy in the operation side of it. I was just interesting talking to a colleague who called me up last night. Unfortunately, somebody passed away, but we were talking about those old days. And I was the only woman in the room. And that was, with all the executives. And it was exciting, and it was scary, but it was exciting. And it was just, it was just learning so much, learning on the job. And I don't mean just learning about the energy industry. And I'm so fortunate there were some great people out there, these great men who taught me a lot. They take me to the field and show me equipment and stuff. And I thank God for them. They were very gracious with their knowledge, which, people hoard knowledge. But it was, but beyond that, just learning how to operate, how to be in that world, kind of growing that, was a great experience. They gave me a lot of autonomy. That gave me, and then I helped another boss start up a gas marketing company. He pulled me in. That didn't last. I thought it lasted less than a year, and I thought, God, nobody's ever hired me again. That was another incentive, starting your own business. But it was funny. A lot of people were very impressed. They said, you took a risk, and they were kind of like, oh, women don't take risks. You took a risk. That's pretty interesting. And, of course, building my own company, the love for that company. And I think you know, at any time you start an organization, you're consumed by it, 24/7. And it was just my life. The highs were higher than high. The lows were lower than lows. You ride that, ride that wave. And I loved it. I love the people that I work with. I love my clients. I can say that. I can say that proudly. I love, and you could do things your way with the values that you thought were important. I talked about family earlier. We were early on in hiring a lot of women and giving them flex hours. We got awarded by the governor, at one point, companies that were recognized. And all we did is we started flexibility before everybody else started flexibility, because we recognized that people had other responsibilities. We started giving men time off for kids, and people thought we were crazy because small companies never do stuff like that.
Never.
But to us, it was really important.
So how did you decide to retire?
Oh, I didn't retire. I always thought I'd sell the company, but it's going to be, it's like when. But what happened was we got after 2008, the craziness, we ended up getting outside money in private equity firm. And anyway, it was a difficult situation for the first 2.5 years. So we started trying to see if we could talk to the company. And we were also, we had been getting offers all the time. But let's just put it this way. We got an outstanding offer that the private equity firm, who then had more control of the company, could not refuse, because they had to look at it. It was so high. And then we ended up with like nine competitors bidding. So it was cool. It was so cool. It was very cool. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So yeah, it was a little shocking. But so we ended up with a very good exhibit. So that was kind of weird. So it kind of just happened. It was a weird time for me. I will tell you this though, because it was in 2014. It was just a strange time. My sister, my first sibling, I lost my parents, passed away in September. And then all of a sudden, we sold it within like 3 months and got these offers. The bidding starts. The PE firm says, okay, we're going to decide in 3 months. Okay. And so within their 3 years, they ended up selling it. And so it all just happened so quickly. And then you're going, what happened, right? What is going on in my life? And then 3 months later, I found out I had cancer. So that was another, what the heck is going on in my life?
Right. So talk about your cancer experience.
So a shocker, okay? First and foremost, as I just said, it was a kind of a strange period. I was always very good about getting myself checked out. I started that early, and as an executive. In those old days, I think even if you got a job at a certain level, you had to have physicals, right?
Yeah.
And so I had started getting regular physicals, and I was pretty good about that. In this case, this was the beginning of, the company was sold in 2014, December. And so I was a little behind. Like I would say every year I went through my physicals, but I was a couple of months behind, really, because of everything that was going on. And I did my mammogram, and and they said there were some irregularities. But over the years, they had called me back in again, and they said, we'll take a biopsy. And that had even done before too, fine. So there I am. And this, I will tell you the date, because the date is so seared in my mind. It was March 2nd of 2015. And I went for my colonoscopy. My lovely niece took me for my colonoscopy. And I had my colonoscopy, so I was good about that too. And we're driving back. She was driving me back because she has to drive me back. And we get a call, and they said, your results came in from the biopsy last week, and we'd like to see you today. Well, anytime they tell you they want to see you today or is bad. And I said, well, I'm driving back from a colonoscopy. I'm in the car. We were just driving back from the medical center. And she said, oh, well, can we see you tomorrow? And we said, no. I mean, there's not good. So you say, no, we're coming now. And we came there and we sat there. And I remember sitting there for a long time. We went in there and I had a internist, a lovely woman who always said, oh, she was much younger than me and very cool. And she said, I always want to be like you when I grow up. And I was very flattered, of course. But she just kind of, I'd had her for like 9 years. And then she just, that day I got fired by my doctor. She basically just mumbled for a while. And then she said, I don't know how to tell you. And we're just sitting there going like, what's going on? Said a bunch of other stuff. My niece remembers as well. Of course, I had my colonoscopy. And it was strange. And then all of a sudden she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have cancer. And so now you're sitting there, and we did not, at that time, I did not know if we had any family cancer. So cancer was not on my radar.
Right.
My father died of a heart attack. My mother died of a heart attack. My sister died of a heart attack. So, my whole thing was heart attacks, right? And it's just so, I don't know, it was just so weird. It was like, what?
It sounds surreal.
Surreal. It was very surreal, very strange. And then it's like, what do I do now? And forgive the stuff. She said, well, I can't really help you anymore. You have to get some other help. And I said, where? And or something of that nature. And we got the general number of MD Anderson. Yeah. It was a very strange. I was so lucky. One of my closest friends is an oncologist in Dallas, Dr. Cindy Osborne. So I had resources, which one of the reasons I like the Rose, because a lot of people were not as fortunate as the resources in the context that I have. Right. So it's so critically important. And she guided me. She says, Samina, okay, find the good oncologist. Oncologist is the most important person. So you go to all the local, and we are so fortunate in Houston, we have all of these medical institutions, and you find somebody you're really comfortable because they're going to go on the ride with you. They're going to go with you for the whole process. It's extraordinarily important. And she gave me some suggestions, and I was delighted that I actually ended up. But the whole experience, I will tell you, is one of learning. I did not know about cancer. Many of us don't. And we took cancer as one thing. Well, breast cancer is very different from another cancer, and another cancer, and another cancer. And that then became my journey about learning about cancer. And I spent a lot of time, and I was very fortunate because my family studied. We all started studying cancer and learning about it. So it's still daunting.
So is that why you became so interested in the research behind it and finding a cure? All the things that
yes, I did, and I had
about.
some unfortunate losses to cancer afterwards. So, okay, this was interesting too. So then, I don't think I have any family, cancer. So now it's this thing. So my dear, if she hears this, she said to me, she just lost her mother, and she's like, can I? And she's older. She's not young at that time. I mean, she had older kids, teenage kids or something at the time, and she said, do you mind if I share this? And I said, no, it's a reality. Of course, share it. And I've always been that way. But she put it on the Facebook. And I bless her heart. I don't know if she hears this, she's going to be so mad at me. But my whole point is, but she did. And was actually, at first was like, wow, that's weird. But she needed to express it. But what happened turned out to be great because all of these, because I live here, I was born in Pakistan. My dad was with the United Nations. I grew up in New York, 6 years old, immigrant. My cousins and relatives are all in Pakistan or all over the world. And so all of a sudden I start getting these comments like, oh, your aunt, and I knew she died. I didn't know what she died from, right?
Right.
Started realizing. And that's when I was able to do the test and find out PALB2 gene. So that actually was the start of cancer for me, kind of, in the other research that I had to do to really learn about what this is.
But that is so familiar. I mean, so many people don't know what their aunt or their grandmother, or because there was a time we really didn't talk about it.
Yep.
And I know just in the time that we've had the Rose,
Yep.
to be in a situation like we are right now, talking about this kind of experience, that wouldn't have happened in the 80s.
Oh, but even when I was going through it, I will tell you, Dorothy, it was incredible. All of these dear friends, I got to know these cool women. I were telling you earlier. It's just, and all of them, like, I went through cancer. I went through cancer. So many women go through cancer. Mm-hmm. I was just absolutely, shocked, surprised at that.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't know what was going on all around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's another part of it. We're always surprised and kind of overwhelmed to know how many others have had that kind of experience.
But it's there. It's a reality. We have to deal with it.
We do.
I think that's the whole thing is we have these, it's out there, and thank God there are some resources, and people need to be aware of them. So,
right.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important what your oncologist friend told you. Mm-hmm. Did you actually interview doctors?
I did.
Well, of course you did.
Of course I did. I'm an interviewer. I run things. And it was really, of course, so this is funny. So I, of course, was like, I'm going to travel now. I've sold the company. I'm going to travel. And I was traveling with some dear friends of mine, and we were headed off to Machu Picchu. And then I ended up, doing some interviews and stuff. And we were still actually waiting to find out what kind of breast cancer I had. It turned out I had HER2. And anyway, so they said we can't even start the treatment. But I found this lovely oncologist, ended up at Baylor with Dr. Ellis. And he turned out to be such an incredible resource to me. And of course, there's Dr. Osborne there and all the work that they're doing. And so anyway, but he explained everything to me in such detail. He drew a drawing, and he said, and then he had this lovely assist, because I think it's just as important, all the people around these incredible doctors. And he had his nurse practitioner, and she was cool. And she was like real matter of fact. And she just told me, like, honey, you're going to go off, you're going to go and have a great time, and we're going to take care of you when you come back. And it was just so, it's like, okay. So I did go off, I had a fabulous time, because I didn't really know, but I felt like I was in good hands. Mm-hmm. And it's...
we always say that's so much, a big part of recovery is trusting who is taking care of you.
Yes, I just felt I was very, I had a team that really cared, so, and they did. So that, but the whole process itself was just, anybody who's been through that thing, it was so crazy. Here I was so consumed with my company, and now I was just consumed with every day. You don't know how you're going to feel, went through the chemo, I ended, and I don't mind sharing it. I because of the PAL-B2, I went through double mastectomy and all of that, because my whole thing, we didn't know. Mm-hmm. I said to them, and I did the usual fact checking, like, so does that mean it can come back? Does it mean that the other breast can get it? What does it mean? Right? And it's like, they were like, we can't tell you. So it was like, okay, well, do I want to worry about it or not? Mm-hmm. So you make those kinds of, you have to make those kinds of decisions. And, you go through that process. And I had this little book. I journaled a lot. And I wrote down every day. I was like, how many days left for chemo to finish up? How many, so all that stuff that you go through.
And you found that good? You found it was therapeutic to journal?
I think for me, journaling, just not that, but even in the work situations has been useful, because sometimes you really, the closest people you can't share a lot of stuff with, the people who worry about you, because if you tell them about your fears and your worries, they're already worried about you, right?
Right.
So it's so, for me, it was easy to write some of that down and get it out of my system. Where there was some crazy thing that was haunting me, like, oh, I've got this kind of strange pain, I wonder what that means. Whatever that was,
right.
I could write it down. Now, that's not to speak, you communicate, and then you communicate with the right people at the right time, but getting that down was helpful. Yes, it was.
It is. I truly believe in journaling, and it takes time, which is good, because you have some time for yourself. That's just yours. I think there's so many things cancer can teach
Oh, yes.
about life in general. And it's incredible.
Cancer taught me, and then I learned how to breathe. I found the importance of breathing and calming down. I would go through my little breathings because my blood pressure would be high before some surgery, and then I'd give me a few minutes. I'd breathe, and I actually learned to control the blood pressure better. And meditation, I learned, I learned to chill after being obsessed with working for a time. And thinking about what I ate, I went through this whole thing of cutting down on sugar. There's a lot of stuff it taught me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So a year later or so, you had another scare?
Yes, I did. So I was still finishing up. If you know about HER2, you go through Herceptin infusions for quite a while. So I was still going through my Herceptin infusions, and this is funky, kind of crazy. And so I had already found out that I had the PAL-B2 gene, and that was crazy. When they called me with that poor person, and I won't, who called me to tell me that I had the PAL, he said, "Hey, we found something," and I was like, "We found a gene." I was like, "What do you mean? That's not a good thing. Why are you telling me this?" And they told me what they knew at that time, that PAL-B2, you have a higher chance, not just of breast cancer, but ovarian and pancreatic cancer. There may be others now, but at that time, that was the thing. And it's pretty kind of tied in with BRCA. And so I hear all this stuff, and I remember that was one of the few times I actually just sobbed, cried, and I thought, I thought I was ending. I'm going through this journey, because I heard about it when I was, kind of going through my Herceptin treatment. I'd finished the chemo, and I was like, this is crazy. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I started feeling something on the side, and I thought, well, maybe it's due to the surgery, maybe it's due to something, whatever else. So I kept going to different doctors and going, I feel something here. It didn't hurt, it was just bothering me. And Dr. Ellis, who was my oncologist, said to me, I said, no, then I talked to his nurse practitioner, I said, what organs are there? What's there? Like here, I pointed to, and she said, well, and pancreas. And I said, but you guys said I could have a higher chance of pancreatic cancer. And they said, you never feel pancreatic cancer. You hardly ever know about it. I'm sure it's not that. But, we'll talk to Dr. Ellis. And Dr. Ellis said, you know what? Let's just check just to make you feel better. It's probably nothing. And I remember he came in that day and they ran him, and he just collapsed. And he thought it was, it had metastasized, the breast cancer had. And he was just, as we thought, we were all excited that we were going on the way to recovery. And I found out that I had a huge tumor, golf-sized tumor in the head of my pancreas, and some others. And so then became my next thing, which was I went through again talking to several surgeons and doctors, and I ended up having Whipple surgery. It was recommended by some of the best doctors here in town. That it was also just so big, and it was causing all sorts of problems with my bile duct and stuff, that I needed to have Whipple surgery. So I went through that and if you know anything about Whipple, that's weird. Your whole digestive system, everything is touched. So I had to stop my Herceptin and then go through that, and I finished my Herceptin after everything
Good heavens,
else.
woman.
It was like just being it was so funny. You'd go into the hospital and people go, "Hey, Miss Farid, you're back." And you go like, they know you by name. Right? How's your brother doing? My brother used to take me in all the time. All that sort of stuff. It was kind of like family, but in kind of a weird, good, bad way. I'm not sure.
Dr. Ellis was one of our favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many times the Baylor doctors would work at Harris Health, and for many years that was our only option with our uninsured people. And I would always tell our women, you've got the best of the best here. I mean, they didn't realize being in the public hospital system that's the kind of arrangement it is.
Dr. Ellis, and I worked with him. Actually, was his patient advocate for the work he was doing in what do you call it, precision
therapy or
precision therapy, exactly, because he was really, really focused on that. And so I helped publicize that and raise awareness for the important. And it is so critically, and it still is so critically important, absolutely. So there's close. In fact, I just got a text from his wife, and we're going to try and get together for a drink. So,
cool.
Absolutely.
So here you are, this incredibly successful businesswoman, also a cancer survivor twice. What message do you want to say to women? What is the one thing you'd like to be sure? Because you are in touch with a lot of younger women now that are working on their businesses, working on their careers.
Health is everything. Health is everything, and stress is also really important. Manage your stress levels as best you can and find the time. I mean, my whole deal is, I told you my lovely brother, Khalid, who's, he always used to say to me when I go to him lots of times with these decisions, my decisions, and he just goes, like buying my house, and he said, well, how are you going to feel if somebody else steals it? Well, how are you going to feel if a year later you go like, God, I'd wish I'd gone to see the doctor last year like I was supposed to. How are you going to feel? Just keep that perspective as you think about it and move it up the priority list. And the old Nike thing, just do it, for crying out loud. Just do it. Life is going to take you different places, but having information, knowing what you're going through. People are trying to avoid, I have friends who are trying to avoid knowing, I don't want to hear that I've got cancer. I don't want to hear that I've got this problem. I don't want to hear about it. You got to bite the bullet. You've got to basically understand it and then learn about it and basically do what you need to do the best you can through the process. So if you're smart, do it. I'm going to challenge, if you're smart, do it.
Good challenge. Well, thank you again for being with us today. This was just wonderful. Great advice. And I know that all the women around you, I think I would be one of them too that's saying, I want to be just like you when I grow up.
You're sweet. Thank you for that. You started this organization, and I think it's truly amazing what it does. It's so important. So thank you for allowing me to tell my story and being part of this.
Oh, it was truly our honor. Our honor.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.